Welcome back. It is Wednesday, November 19th in the NBA. My four favorite picks are on the way. What's going on, everyone? It's Logan from Calling Our Shot. Once again, just a solo Logan video until Austin does return from taking care of his baby. But I'm hopefully going to bounce back today because yesterday was a very, very frustrating day in the association. One of those days that you just chalk up to some weird basketball plus a bad beat in there. Let's talk about yesterday before we dive into today's picks. A 1 and 2 day, minus 0.82 units. You don't love that. Not catastrophic, not a reverse sweep. So I guess that's a slight positive. Our one winner was Moody's under in threes. That was a sweat-free winner. The other prop loser we had was Booker's over, and in a blowout, National Blowout Association, you don't get overs. That just doesn't typically happen. So once he missed due to a blowout, and then we had the Memphis Grizzlies plus 6.5, and oh my gosh, if you watched it, which I really do hope you watched or at least followed that game, they were leading the game, not down 10. They were leading the game with 3 minutes remaining, and then they forgot how to play basketball in the last minute and a half. It was truly, truly a disgusting loss. And I heard Austin's voice in my head saying, "That's why I don't pick spreads." I swear, I heard it, and I was like, I threw my remote. My wife was like, "Why are you so mad at a random Spurs and Grizzlies game?" And I'm like, if you know, you know. It's a tough beat, but we move past that, and tough beats do happen in the NBA. So the way today's picks we have 2 1-unit props. I have a half unit prop as well. And then I am returning back to the scene of the crime, a spread pick. Again, only going to play that one for a half unit. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's picks. Again, I want to bounce back. I want to get some winners while Austin's away. And our first one's going to be a full 1-unit play. And it's going to be Alperen Sengun over 29.5 points plus assists, minus 114 odds on FanDuel is your best value there. Now, the reason we're rolling with points plus assists, it's just a little bit better value. Maybe you throw in rebounds there if you like it. But facing the Cavs, he's over. And facing the Cavs tonight, the hit rate isn't that great. Only over in 6 of 12 games this season. But really look at those misses. 4 of those 6 misses were 20-point victories. I mean, you hate to see that. Again, National Blowout Association, I'd argue you can't cap for that. Sometimes when you're picking high spreads, you can sort of mitigate risk. But this game is a pick 'em with a 232-point total. That's pretty favorable in my opinion for a game to target props in. And on the road, this team likely goes through Sengun and Kevin Durant. So he's going to be the focal point of this offense tonight. And Durant will likely be guarded by Mobley and Hunter. Sengun will likely be defending one-on-one. He should see a lot of usage in this game. And I think that's definitely going to be able to, help kickstart this a good way to this points plus assist line. He will usually have to kick it out to shooters, where the Cavs really struggle defensively, on the kick and shoot, so on the kick. I think that's where we see a lot of the offense come, and Sengun can kind of be the facilitator in that role, scoring himself obviously, but assisting his teammates. Down Tari Eason, the Rockets dropped to an 8-man rotation last game, and that included Jabari Smith Jr., who is questionable today. Again, a big part of that offense. Does he play today? Not really sure. It doesn't really matter for this pick, though. We're rolling with him. In that last game versus Orlando, Sengun had 31 field goal attempts, 10 free throw attempts. This line feels low given his usage. If this game does stay tight, which again, fingers crossed, you can't cap for a blowout in a short spread. He should be able to go over this line. I really do like it as the first pick of the day. Hopefully, it could stay close. Sengun, he's been notoriously pretty good for the Calling Our Shot community. So I think we roll with him, and I think he definitely does get it done for us. Now let's move on to the next pick. We played that one for a unit. Next pick, also a unit. It's going to be Bennedict Mathurin of the Pacers, 20+ points, minus 117 odds on Caesars is your best value there. Now, this line does feel really low, which does create a little bit of value for us, which is why I'm playing it. Also playable at 20.5 if your book does have that. But again, line shop, because wouldn't you rather have 20 in case he does land on 20? We've seen the books be sharp before. In 3 games this season, 36, 26, 25 points. It's been pretty good for Mathurin. Last game back was his first in almost a month, and his usage was high. 16 field goal attempts, 14 free throw attempts. Now, his matchup today versus the Hornets have been pretty good at limiting free throw attempts. but bad most other parts of the floor where Mathurin does score. Look at it where his offense is generated from. If Austin was here, he'd probably show you a chart or something. But I can kind of describe it to you. Hornets 26 in mid-range scoring. That's 11% of Mathurin's production. 25th in top of the key and wing. That's 43% of Mathurin's production. And 22nd in defense and non-restricted area. That's 39% of Mathurin's production. So you kind of see the areas where Mathurin typically generates his offense. The Hornets have been bad, and that should hopefully get him started this tonight. Charlotte takes away the corner threes, but that's not where Mathurin shoots. So some teams are good at defending the corner threes, but again, it shouldn't really matter in this pick. Mathurin is likely guarded by Knipple or Sion James, both rookies. He should be able to get to his spots in this one. He also played 25 minutes in his first game back, even with heavy foul trouble. His usage should be high and in a favorable matchup. I just think this is a great spot to target Mathurin. Sometimes you feel like the line might be a little bit too low from the books, and that generates value. So when we see value, we attack it, and I love that as our second pick of the day. Now let's move on to another prop. It's just going to be a half unit, though, and you'll kind of see why. Anthony Edwards over 27.5 points, minus 120 odds on FanDuel. Now, this is only a half unit play, as it's going to be protection for a blowout, because as we saw with Devin Booker last night, if we would have dropped him down to a half unit play, if we thought it was a blowout, again, not a blowout on paper, it was a short spread, but it resulted in a blowout. This is only going to be a half point or a half unit risk because the spread's like, I think 16.5, something crazy high like that. If this game does get out of hand, it's likely Edwards, though, doing a lot of the damage and extending that Wolves lead. So I think they do kind of go hand in hand. Now, if it's the role players, the other guys on the team, then, GG, just chalk it up. But Ant-Man does love playing against the Wizards, and this is a spot that you gotta bet, and you gotta hope that he does show up, because his last 5 games versus the Wizards, you can extend it back several seasons, like 3 seasons. 41 points, 51 points, 38 points, 34 points, 29 points. Yeah, he absolutely loves playing against the Washington Wizards. And coming off a game where he only scored 13 points and the Wolves won in a blowout, I think this is actually a good bounce back spot for Edwards, just to, kind of get his. He might be a little bit more selfish. You let the teammates blow him out in the last game. I think Anthony Edwards gets to his spots, and I think this is a great matchup, because the Wizards are also dead last in defensive rating. This is a team that does not know how to defend. 23rd in field goal percentage allowed, 24th in three-point percentage allowed. Really, any defensive metric you want to pull, the Wizards are bad at it. So again, I like this play. 27.5 points. It's a high-ish line, but again, if the Wolves are going to get out to a big lead and really cover that spread with ease, I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards doing the damage. So I do love that as the third prop of the day. Now let's move on to the scene of the crime, a spread pick. And I know Austin is risk averse to spreads, and that's why I want to caution you. Again, I have not had a full season with him betting spreads. So yesterday was a knife right through the heart, but there's still bounce back potential there, for this pick. And let's talk about where we're going. It's going to be the Dallas Mavericks plus 6.5. Now, if you're like, Logan, I'm seeing 5.5 on my book, I bought up a point. If minus 125 on BetMGM is where you can buy up that point and not have to pay a whole lot of juice. But the reason why I'm taking 6.5 is because you do get 2 of the top 3 key numbers in basketball. I've told you, I think I mentioned it yesterday. 5, 6, and 7. Those are the ones you want to try to bet in the NBA. And I've seen it way too often to get hooked or lose a bet by like a point or 2. It just happens a lot in NBA spreads. So I'd rather just kind of be risk averse and buy up a little bit of juice, try to get a half unit winner back, and tell Austin, hey, I can still do spreads, I promise. But after that brutal loss with the Grizzlies, we need to still give the spread picks a little bit more try, because that felt like the right pick. Just a really unfortunate last couple minutes when it actually mattered the most. But now in this spot, though, I'm rolling with the Mavericks, home underdog roll, facing the 8-5 Knicks, 4-11 Mavericks. So on paper, looks like advantage Knicks. Knicks are 0-4 against the spread on the road this season, 1-5 straight up in its last 6 games in Dallas. Those are a couple of trends that definitely work in our favor. Now, I don't bet spreads and totals based solely on trends, but it's nice to have the trends on your side. And that's exactly what we have for this Mavericks pick. If you look at the on the road, the Knicks are 20th in points scored, 24th in field goal percentage, 26th in 3-point percentage. They are a different team playing on the road, and that's kind of why I want to attack this spot. Brunson is questionable, but I would be surprised if he does play. You know, I like the pick with or without him for what it's worth. But if you kind of look at the spot, do they really rush him back against the Mavericks in this spot? I don't know. And if he does play or doesn't play, maybe that does flip the spread of a few points or so. The Knicks' next game is Saturday. They're already down Anunoby for the next few weeks. There's not a whole lot of reason to rush Brunson back. But again, I don't try to predict injuries. I do like this pick with or without Brunson. Knicks rely heavily on the 3-pointer between Karl-Anthony Towns, McHale, Shamet, Clarkson, McBride, etc. They average the second most threes in the NBA. But you've really seen their shooting percentages dip on the road, which is why they've not been that great of a road team and a road team that you can fade with some confidence. And that's what we're doing in the spot back in the Mavericks. And that's why they kind of struggled in away games. Dallas is allowing the second fewest threes per game. So a lot of that Knicks offense is generated behind the arc. And I think that Dallas is pretty stingy. They should be able to limit that tonight. They want to funnel you to the paint where Gafford and Lively are both now back. I think the interior defense for the Mavs is pretty solid. And again, the perimeter defense should be good tonight. They could win ugly. They can win this game outright. Or here's an idea: in the last couple minutes, do not fold like a cheap tent like the Grizzlies did and cover the spread. Again, I find value in underdog spreads in the NBA all the time because some of these teams that look bad on paper, they just show up that night. The Grizzlies showed up for most of that night last night for us, except for when it counted. You hate to see that. But I have a feeling the Mavs do have our back tonight. So I do love that. As my favorite spread pick of the day, please avenge my Grizzlies loss last night. Hopefully we can do that. Again, only risking a half unit on it because there's just no reason to go full-blown unit. And Austin would absolutely yell at me if I had a full unit on it. But let's recap the picks real quick. We had Alperen Sengun over 29.5 points plus assists. We had Bennedict Mathurin 20+ points. Anthony Edwards, 27.5 points. Again, only risking a half unit on that one. And then the spread pick. Hopefully it comes home. Mavericks plus 6.5. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, Austin will likely be back later in the week. But thank you for bearing with the kind of weird scheduling change. This has been Logan. We're going to have a winning night, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.